Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN. Today, I thought we'd switch some things up, and I don't know why I didn't think of trying this or doing this before, but we are today going to be doing the top 10, maybe 11, but top 10 most upvoted suggestions for the month of May that, well, not just finished, but did finish a while ago. And so I'm thinking at the end of each month, we'll show off what the most upvoted suggestions were in case they end up getting mentioned in Q&As or in dev feedbacks, or if they become Hall of King conversation topics that we end up getting an announcement out in that dev feedback channel on support. And so, yeah, we're going to go through that. Now, I got a list here for you. We're going to start from lowest up to highest. I ended up posting it here because it makes it easier for me just to kind of go back and forth and click so I can find them. So as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you throw us up because that's a lot. All right, let's start with 124, which is migration. I can easily come back to the voice chat too as well. So this was posted by Noob1012 saying, make it so that migration cost goes down the longer you have been in a server. This actually, to me, is very interesting. And I kind of look at this as a loyalty time gain that you're accumulating after you get into the kingdom. I actually, for one, think that this is a pretty good idea, right? You being able to maybe, for example, as time goes on, if you've played one season, maybe you do it kind of like Risk in a sense where, and there's other ways you can do it, but this is like one of the ones that come to mind. You know, like when you're playing Risk and if you own territory, right? It's like, and you own that territory, or for what, God, I can't recall. No, yeah, if you own the territory and you have like, and you submit the cards and you get like, you know, you have 3 infantry or 3 cav or 3 cannons, or you have 1 of each, you'll get additional troops for each card, but then you get whatever the card turn-in value is. Kind of thinking of it like that in a sense where it's like, okay, well, what if you've played 1 KVK season? So maybe if you're in a kingdom and you've played 1 KVK season, you get maybe double the permits from your alliance. Maybe if you've played in 2 seasons or more, maybe it goes up to 3 times, right? Or it's any variation, right? Maybe it could be something where if you want to purchase them, maybe if you've played in a kingdom first, and that might be a little challenging because the bundles is kind of more universal where the alliance tokens. But if there was a way to do something like that, where maybe they gave you like a 5% discount on permits as like a loyalty because you've been there for at least 1 season. And then let's say if you're there for 2 or more seasons, maybe it's 10%, and maybe it maxes out at like 50%, which would mean you'd have to be there for 10 seasons, right? But something like that, I actually think could work. Even if they want to make the increments smaller, something to that effect, I actually think this is a pretty good idea. You just have to figure out how are you going to implement it and what would be the best way to do it. But I actually think this is a great idea here from Noob, so I'm going to upvote that. Okay, number 2, we got, this had 135 upvotes. This was submitted by Mika. This was kind of an alliance management suggestion. It says, improve quality of life for leadership by adding a co-R5 role. More often than not, there are rotation of R5, High King, or even the sharing of login credentials to cover 24/7 shifts. I mean, it is what it is. However, the need to have the R5 High King around is usually for selected tasks that no one else can do. They are deleting the core fortress to fly them to another location, appointing of R4 roles, or 3 appointing, removing of minister roles. Why is there a need for the kingdom to wait for the one particular person to log in to be able to do these tasks? While point 1 does borderline the deletion of an alliance, I suggest adding a co-R5 role for up to 2 persons that can do everything the R5 High King can do, with the exception of deleting the core fortress. As jumping shell between alliance is common now, appointing an R4 becomes a chore if we are only waiting for 1 person to do it. Thus, these co-R5 roles will enable the leadership to have more flexibility and more options to run the kingdom operations 24/7. I mean, this is just generally a really good suggestion. Now, it is worth noting Can I not upvote this? There we go. It is worth noting that they are addressing this, right? In one of the recent dev Q&As, they did talk about management and how they are going to be improving so that way more of the officers and management could have more customized roles and tasks. Now, will that allow for things to be addressed in some kind of a CoR5 way where permissions could be given to someone up to the level of permissions that would be, where like only the R5 or the existing R5 or the head R5 would be able to change roles or appoint like a new head R5, right? But then, they could give permissions up to that point for others, so that way they can handle some of those other things. Hopefully that ends up being the case. I do think this is a great idea, and my belief is that when they do introduce this, you will be able to have more customized and hopefully more permissions to handle a lot of those very tasks. Because the fact is that you may even find situations in some alliances where you have more than 10 people who want to help out, where you could have 15, 20 officers just to manage that large of a group, especially because you're splitting up the time. So again, not only do I think having the customized permissions, which we know they're doing, but they may even consider making it so you can have more than 10 officers. Okay, next one. Let's go to number 3, which is, this had 135 votes. This is remove PvE artifacts from the artifact compendium. Now, compendium being what you get at the end of the KVK season, I kind of see where Alinar is going with this, where it's, I don't know how often the PvE artifacts are being captured, especially by players who are already looking for ways to optimize their accounts for more PvP rather than PvE. And that's not to say that I don't think that there's zero use for PvE artifacts, but I just wonder how many of those, and the CoD team has to have stats and data on that. However, I do think that it would be nice, because the thing is that you're not doing, you're not doing a whole lot. You are doing some PvE in KVK, but that's not the focal point of the KVK. It's to fight against other people. It's more PvP focused. And so to me, it almost feels like maybe they just move PvE artifacts to another area and they make it so the PvP, or what they could do is make it so players can choose what they want in their artifact compendium at the end of the season. Maybe they just give you a list of stuff and you could select a certain amount and then that will show up for you. Again, they probably would have to change some things, because I believe it's just universal right now, where the things are just kind of put in by default and it applies for everyone. But wouldn't that be cool if you could select like, hey, I want these 10 or these 15 or these 20 things to be in there, and that's what I want to be able to select from. I mean, that could be something. But I do see where they're going with this. I think wholeheartedly, I feel like I want to vote yes here, just because I think that it's more of a net positive than a net loss, or it's more of a W than an L. But I do think that there should be some asterisks and some stipulations put in. Okay, next one is going to be number 4. Where's number 4? Oh, here we go. So, yo, my boy Panties Brooke, what up, baby? I like girls still, bro. Calm down. Issue: season is shorter. Therefore, premium marriage shop becomes shorter. The solution: increase the number of items provided in the marriage shop based on merit store, standard merit store, premium merit store. This would include elixirs, speed ups, resources, and most importantly, pet skills. Add separate merit store for exemplary merit store based on the amount of merits achieved during the season. So we know that they are, and have stated in a recent dev feedback, that they are going to be adjusting and adding in more things to compensate for the shortened season. I believe they said adding in more items, more number of items, and then additional items as well, at minimum, that they'd be adding in. So we know they are doing some things with this. When people started bringing this up to me initially, I thought to myself, well, but then I did realize it makes sense, because if you were still on the same timer of having, like, for example, if it's like the weekly refreshes and you have, more of a shortened season, Why are you not adjusting the weekly refreshes to maybe be refreshes every 5 days or weekly refreshes every 4 days, right? Or adding in more items, right, to compensate? Because I get that. It's like if you have a shorter season, you're losing out on being able to get as many of the items that you could max buy from the weekly refresh, and then obviously anything else. So again, I can understand that at a generalized level, and I think this makes sense. But like I said, we know that this is being addressed. at least at minimum some of it, right? Okay, number 5. This is earn pet coins. So Pasta said, add other ways to earn pet coins. Right now, trying to gain pet coins is a pain. Couple ideas. Daily mission gives pet coins, maybe like 500 a day. So it will take 50 days to gain enough coin to buy a 2-star Angry Roar, which I think is reasonable. Okay. Now, I'm not necessarily going to vote on this because I haven't messed around too much with war pets, as I've consistently said. And I also just think it's responsible for me to not necessarily give anything that's inaccurate. But I think the fact is that they have made a lot of improvements to war pets since their inception. And I think on this one, I'd love to hear from you guys. Is it something that is that bad? Do you think that it needs to be improved where you need a way to gain more? If so, is 500 a day, daily missions, daily tasks that you have those added like Pasta's advising? Or do you think, no, it needs to be more than that? I'm curious on what some of your takes are, so let me know in the comments on that one. Okay. Then we're going to get to infantry troops. This had 144 votes. Plunder was the one who submitted this. So he said, there's a problem with the infantry. The heroes themselves are good. The units also do their job. The goal of the infantry is also respected to take damage so that DPS can deal damage without getting hit. But there's one main problem, and that's merit. How? How can we make the infantry earn more merit without increasing the unit's damage or tanking? It's simple. Simply taking damage or reducing it gives merit. Why? The infantry is the only unit without a faction. The infantry is the unit that suffers the most serious injuries in combat because they die on the field, unlike other units which return when they have few remaining troops. On kingdoms with more than 15 million power, players use the blink, a cavalry artifact, to be more useful. Infantry is the unit that generates the most deaths due to the bastions, I believe, and rallying. It is not normal that T5 players specializing in infantry cannot purchase items from the merit store. If nothing is done, there is a risk of fewer and fewer players wanting to play infantry because it is unplayable. If there are fewer and fewer infantry in the game, all other units will suffer and the game will be less fun for everyone. The more powerful the kingdoms are, the less merit infantry earns. 10k to 20k for the largest kingdoms and 30k to 60k for little ones. Okay. So the thing is I believe that they've done one adjustment so far for infantry where they did increase some merit. At least I believe they did increase. That's what I should say. I believe they've done one thing where they've increased some merit gains. I also know they did the thing where they allowed for infantry to show up on like damage soaked for behemoth raids, and then also have their own separate kind of rewards that they're given. So I know they've done some stuff for infantry. However, again, I don't know what the merit gains are between all of the troop units on averages. So again, if you're an infantry player out there, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments, is this on point? And if so, how much percentage increase on merit gain do you think would be appropriate for them to add in? And if you're familiar with the amount of merits, maybe for like an average report, that other troops get, are you trying to get that, or you just want it to be more than what it is, right? Let me know. Okay, let's go to the next one. So then we got Brink of War. So this had 160 upvotes last month. So Renegades posted this one: rework the rewards gained from the first phase of Brink of War. While the quality of life changes to the way elite troll rallies are done are surely appreciated, the individual rewards gained from this phase are lackluster. There is little incentive for players to hoard tens of thousands of CP throughout their KVK season, only to then spend countless hours farming trolls during Brink of War, only to receive subpar rewards for their efforts and patience. It would be beneficial, very beneficial, to receive more speed ups, more resources for participating in this portion of Brink of War in order to train more troops to keep up with the thousands of dead troops we players take every season due to the prevalence of bastions, which, I mean, your boy's not lying there. Furthermore, there could be separate leaderboards and rewards handed out for each separate phase of Brink of War in order to incentivize players to be active in each of the 3 phases. I actually think this is a good suggestion. the fact is that it feels like in the beginning when Brink of War was introduced, people probably thought, okay, these rewards are all right. But as time, and maybe not the best, but okay, it is what it is for now. But as time goes on and players get stronger, more features, more events are introduced into the game, more player needs come around, more heroes, more artifacts, more war pets, etc. You can argue that you need to adjust your rewards distribution appropriately as time has gone on. And to me, it's very similar with what people are talking about with like the compendium and certain rewards that you get, whether it's from Augerstone or others, where it's like, listen, we just need more, or we need more diverse rewards. So to me, I actually think that this makes sense. I would have liked for them to list off like, hey, this is what the rewards are currently, and this is what we'd like the rewards to be and why. I think when you can explain something like that, it makes it a little bit easier. One of the things we often talk about when you're submitting a suggestion is sometimes to do it in a way where you're not assuming that every single person who's reading it knows exactly what the rewards are, or like what the thing is that you're talking about and all the intricacies. Even if you're just giving it like a brief example of one phase and saying, well, like the top 100 players get this, but I think they should get this, and this is the reason why. But again, I do generally agree with this. I think this is a good suggestion. Okay. Let's go. So that was Brink of War. We got 3 left. Don't let whales dictate. Oh yeah, this was interesting. So Cat Joy had 171 outvotes. Don't let whales dictate who plays or not, because they are mad that their dead whale alliance isn't active enough to be the younger, more active alliance. So again, I don't know if this was from like the whales. I don't know if this was like the whole thing about at previously, I guess during that month or around that time, where there was that whole thing about like registering alliances or something like that, or registering players. I thought there was a brief conversation about that, but again, maybe she's referring to something else here at that point. So I'm not 100% sure on like exactly what this is referring to, but I did want to show it off just for consistency, because this was one of the most upvoted posts. I'm sure someone will give us some more context in the comments here, but I just thought it was funny that she was calling them out. So at least for those that are, that I guess would be relevant, right, to the post. Okay, 198 upvotes. Our the homie Natty Boy. Add more teleports to VIP shop or find other ways to sell teleports. With the home kingdom length being reduced, as well as season timeline being compressed, we aren't able to buy enough teleports that are needed for a complete season. Since there is less time between Augerstones and the frequency of events such as statues, players need to teleport around the map frequently. This isn't even accounting for teleporting during war, which most players are at a minimum using 2 to 3 per day. We need more teleports as we have reduced time in home kingdom to collect them. I'll be honest, this seems pretty straightforward to me. Again, maybe I would have liked to seen an example of like, okay, well, how many teleports do you feel like you're able to save up maybe before the KVK starts? How many do you think you're able to accumulate during the KVK? What was the previous KVK season length compared to what it is now? How many teleports are you losing out on? Like maybe some of those details. But I at least understand this much, that people teleport around a lot. And the fact is that if you're not compensating and making adjustments for a shorter season for people to be able to collect on the amount that they would usually need, because you're basically getting into fights faster now, then yeah, this makes sense to me. So I'm gonna give you an upvote on that one. Okay, last one is going to be Migration Discharge. This thing had 283 upvotes, was submitted by Bad Number. So this says, we encourage players to focus on managing and developing their home kingdoms. Therefore, we currently have no plans for any discount event for migration permits. This is from dev feedback. Encourage with what? Giving our kings the tools to kick people out for $385 a person. They encourage us so well that an alliance like WAO, which is supposed to be one of the top alliances of this game, had to migrate to an empty server to rebuild. Thanks for encouraging us that way, devs. Paying $385 to kick some inactive person from your server is a scam. Paying $385 because your server end up dead is a scam. Paying $385 to join an empty server to rebuild is a scam. Paying for permits because you want to migrate is okay. Paying for permits because you have to migrate is a scam. This game is supposed to be free to play. Paying is a choice. The way migration now works is unhealthy. The only reason they don't change migration is because they earn so much money with it, and that's okay. And we don't care that you earn money with it. Let the players pay for it if they want to change the server, but please allow players somehow migrate for lower rates if they have to. Last time we had a suggestion getting over 1,600 upvotes when they reduced hospitals' capacity. Devs finally decided to do something about it. Our Kings asking the devs in every suggestion I see about migration getting around 100 plus upvotes for not reason enough for them to do something. Can we, for once, upvote one suggestion enough so devs decide to do something? So, I mean, they did make that one previous adjustment to permits that I think happened a month ago, whatever it was, a month or 2 months ago. Not to say that it was anything significant, but I think it was just I can't remember if it was the cost or if it was the time that it would pop up. So, it was something in some dead feedback in Q&A, and now I'm blanking so hard on it. But I will say this. I do generally agree with this, that, listen, if we could go back to the 5K gems to migrate, that'd be great. I think because now we have a lot more control, kingdoms have a lot more control via king and queen tools over who can get in, where it's a pure accept deny system now, which is exactly how it should have been in the beginning, which I'm very happy that they finally added that in. So that's an absolute W. I do believe that now kingdoms are set up appropriately. They have the security, they have the safety net to where now they choose who comes in, and then also being able to kick people out. Again, that might be another conversation for another time about discharging, but at least as it relates to this, I do agree that I do think, and this is why I really liked that first suggestion we talked about, where they were talking about if you're in a kingdom for a certain amount of time, the longer you're in the kingdom as kind of like a loyalty bonus, you'll get reductions on how many permits you need. Sorry, not how many permits you need, but like maybe how much the permits cost to get, whether that's with money or with alliance credits, in-game currency, or in some other fashion, right? Maybe if you've been in a season once, longer, maybe you can do like a free gifting of. I probably won't work because you still have to buy them. But generally, I guess overall, I do agree. I do think it would be nice for us to be in a situation where, again, would it be great if we can go back to the 5K gem thing? Absolutely. But do we think that's going to happen? Yeah, probably not. But I would like to see something be done where, if some people want to pay the full price to move, okay. But there should be another way for people to get a discount in some way, shape, or form on permits. And if it's a loyalty route, if it's another route, that's fine. But I do think that this is a good idea. And I think this is something that a lot of people would gravitate towards and really want. So again, I'm going to get an upvote here. Okay. That is it for me. That's our top 10, top 11 suggestions for the month of May. We'll do June here probably in about a week or so once it finishes out, and then we'll go through all the suggestions submitted that month. And if you guys like this series, let me know. I'm going to be trying to keep doing this one because, again, I love giving I love talking about suggestions and walking through them and hopefully giving a little bit of my insight, at least on the relevant ones that I feel like I can. And then obviously hearing from you, especially and more importantly, even on the ones that I might not have or be able to provide a little bit more context on for how you guys feel about it. So let me know in the comments below. That's it for me. As always, until next time, we'll catch you later.